chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good evening, Cayman Islands and or wherever you're tuning in from, anywhere in the world, near or far. Hello. It is a rainy Monday here in the Cayman Islands, and I know many of you are making your way through traffic right now. You could be making your way through traffic right now, but let's take a deep breath. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Yes, yes, yes. The roads are wet and the place is slow. All day yesterday, I was reminiscing. I couldn't recall the last time we had here in the Cayman Islands a day where it just rained continuously, pretty much. But yeah, the roads are wet. The pace is slow, but we're here and we're safe. And we're connected. Rainy days, I don't know about you, remind us on just how to slow down, to appreciate the rhythms of life and learn and lean into our neighbors, into our communities, whatever you so choose to do. So whether you're in your cars or at your desk, listening at home with your legs kicked back, maybe the aroma of something nice in the kitchen, I don't know. Maybe you're inclined to do some comfort food. How do you spend your rainy days? Welcome to the conversation, nevertheless. And I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, I can turn your gray Monday into something bright and meaningful. And we can do that together. But I'm your host, Sabrina, and welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration definitely takes center stage. The content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice, so I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Now, Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. 345-936-8255. I think I solved the problem, but we won't know unless we get our first call, right? Yeah. I think we solved the problem. The number to call anyhow is 345-936-8255. Let's see if we can do it today to be a part of the discussion. And don't forget to like, share, follow, or subscribe. I did my own checks. It worked for me. I didn't have to go live. And let's hope it'll work for you. But I tried everything. I did everything. So let's keep our fingers, toes, and everything crossed that everything will go as planned today. And Mr. Samamba, who has been itching. Oh, my God. Yeah, I miss you, too. And I'm quite sure Danny, too. He's been on there in the background. And old Alfred. Yep. They're all there. But it's so, I miss you guys when you don't participate. But yeah, for for all of you who may be just out there stuck in traffic, what a mayhem it's been all weekend with all these MVAs. Oh my God, what's going on? But please, just take your time. If you're on the road, please take your time. And we're expecting these clouds to pretty much dissipate overnight and into tomorrow. So thanks to the Cayman Islands National Weather Service, here's the forecast for this evening into tomorrow. The synopsis calls for a stationary front that is now located across the Cayman area will continue to maintain cloudy skies with some additional showers today, especially towards the sister islands as a prefrontal trough lingers ahead. And associated another area of high pressure will also support an increase in winds and seas today, bringing some rough seas with northern and westerly swells at times. Now, satellite imagery shows widespread layer clouds across the Northwest Caribbean with scattered convection towards the sister islands. A flood advisory remains in effect for the Cayman Islands. The forecast for night is calling for cloudy to overcast skies with scattered showers and periods of rain with thunder possible. I haven't heard any thunder yet, but I'm telling you, it's raining cats and dogs outside right now. Showers may become locally heavy at times, leading to flooding of low-lying areas. Temperatures will fall to the mid-70s. Winds will be northeast at 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet, and swells are likely along northern and western coast will be imminent. Small craft advisory is in effect. So for all of you boaters, please take heed. The tides for today is at 9:53 tonight. Tomorrow, there'll be a low tide at 4:01 and a high tide at 10:57 a.m. We all know that tides play a significant part in standing water drainage. So if it's a high tide, it's a chance your water will remain stagnated for a little bit until we get a low tide, and you'll see it go away a little quicker, okay? Just hint. Sun will set this evening at 6:09 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 7:02. Now, the outlook is for a gradual decrease in shower activity as the frontal system begins to dissipate on Tuesday and becomes a shear line drifting across the Western Caribbean towards the Bay of Honduras by Wednesday. Fresh to locally strong winds and rough seas will persist for the next few days, with swell activity along the west coast to diminish by mid-Tuesday as winds begin to veer more easterly. So there you have it. That's the weather for the beautiful Cayman Islands for this evening and into tomorrow. I'm asking everyone who are out there to just be careful on the roads. We want to make sure that wherever you're headed, be it you're going to work, getting off of work, or just going over to check somebody, just do so carefully. And that's everyone who is traversing our roads. We're hoping that you do it. Be responsible and give yourself some time. Yeah, because you should slow down when the roads are wet, and especially with standing water that is actually going to actually happen. Yeah, that's forecasted. There we go. General birthday shout outs today to anyone who's celebrating a birthday or a wedding anniversary. Whatever it is you're celebrating, we should all be celebrating life. We're here. Let's give God thanks and happy birthday and happy whatever it is you're celebrating. For all of those who celebrated birthdays over the weekend, happy birthday to you as well. From all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks family here, we wish you a happy birthday. Please note, Sabrina Speaks is broadcast every Monday to Friday from 5 until 7. This is a live broadcast, and you're welcome to join in on the conversation. We read your comments here on screen, and definitely, all fingers crossed, the phone lines are working and today so that we can share. You can join the podcast live as well. Let's say hey to all of our regular students in the class. And first to comment today was Marshall. Good evening, Marshall. So good to have you here with us. Damian Henry's also in the house. You know, I never wanted to be a day where you can't overlook you guys because you are the heartbeat of this. And yeah, I get worried when I don't see some of you. It really gets to me. I wonder. It's not because of numbers, but really, I like your feedback. I like your engagement, and thank you for always showing up. I must say that to every one of you, whether you comment or not. I see you off air and out and about. Thank you for your support, even if you don't catch me live. Thank you so much. Please give me a thumbs up if you hear this caller speaking. This is our first test, okay? So we're going to test it this evening. Good evening, caller. Yeah. Well, welcome to Sabrina Speaks. You're live. Please, students, give me a thumbs up if you're hearing the caller. Caller, speak for me.
All right. Well, I hope you and everyone in Cayman can hear me say that you look radiant today, especially given this weather.
Oh my! Only because no, hold on,
No.
no. You know me. I was going there with you anyhow because we can do this with each other. Thank you so much for that. Mess with you. Connie say it's working. Yay! We figured it out loud and clear. There we go. So we're back. How are you, my love? How was your weekend?
It was good.
What'd you do?
Eventful. Me?
Yeah.
I can't say hungry.
Well, you see, I'm an open book. Kinda. I was busy, bored as heck, and I was baking. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm finding out some skills about myself since working at home that I never knew existed. You couldn't tell me, caller, that I was a green thumb, and now everything I touch is growing where plants are concerned and herbs. And I'm not doing a bad job in the kitchen either.
So will you make something to eat this weekend?
Well, I tried for the first time. I had no luck when it came to yeast breads, right? And look at there. I made coconut bread and a regular yeast bread, and they actually rise. They didn't go long and hard as a cement block. It was really came out soft and good. I was surprised.
What do you eat it with?
Milo, of course, and a little bit of cheese and a little bit of butter too. Oh yeah, but I didn't cut it till this morning. I didn't cut them. I didn't cut it.
Do it like maybe an hour or two after the oven.
Oh, but
You gotta put the butter on it.
The smell in the house was like my grandmother's back in the day, because she had this thing she would always bake on Sundays. And she would put the almond leaves on top and just rub the butter and stuff. And that's what the kitchen smelled like. That's what the whole house smelled like yesterday. And I didn't stop there. I says, well, shucks, the oven is on. Let's see what I can dig up where sweets are concerned. And I did this. That's a cinnamon roll or cinnamon bun cake. And the icing is with powdered sugar and cream cheese and a little bit of 2% milk just to, add the liquid to it. And if you say, well, how do I know the center of that is cooked? Well, ta-da, that's it. Look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really moist and nice.
So when can I put in my order? I can put in my order from now.
You can put in your order from now, because remember, that's the test. One good thing with me is that I always test it on my family first. And they're all alive and well.
And did it pass muster?
It passed with flying colors. So I'm very, very proud of myself. I was bored as hell yesterday, which is why I did that post. And just to say, when you're bored, this is what you can do. And for me, I'm finding it very therapeutic in the kitchen for some weird reason. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I could use some coconut bread right now.
And you know what I did?
Some butter, nice cup of Milo.
Oh, that was good. That was good this morning. With the weather that we're having right now, and I had my Milo right the boy. Oh yeah, and then I made sure I put a little bit in the toast. I did cut it, and I put a little bit in the toast, and it was warm and nice, and you should smell it. Oh my gosh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm going to share the love with you the next time. I promise. That's a promise, especially with the cake, because for me, when it comes out good, I will share it But you don't know about the disasters that I
Oh,
have. But can I tell you what? It gets
all
eaten.
on hear that, right? The promised land. All right, cool.
And everybody's hearing today loud and clear. Connie Bonnie says loud and clear. Yeah, but it's good to have you with me as usual.
Well, I was looking at the title of your show today,
Uh-huh.
about resilience, and I was thinking, right?
Right.
When does resilience stop being inspiring and start being just a polite way of telling people to endure what we should be fixing?
Interesting.
And if that line exists, in your opinion, what's one concrete change that Cayman should push for so we're not just celebrating survival?
What is one? Repeat it. What is one?
One concrete change that Cayman, like we as Caymanians or the Cayman community, should push for so that we're not just celebrating survival.
If I wouldn't go too deep into legislation right now, I think it is a cultural shift where everyone's voice matters.
Hmm.
And not just how it appears, the haves, or social standing. I think that culture of those who can evoke and effect change is one of the things that we should actually be pushing. And that's a cultural change. And I don't think it's impossible, because one of the stories that I was going to mention today about the e-bike now being pushed back to the 1st of March, that's the power in numbers. And that's when people listen. And see, even Denver, which somewhat segue back to it, Denver Douglas says unity. You see?
Mm-hmm.
It's all in there when you dissect it. And I feel we have lost that as a community over time as we continue to grow, whether organically or by design. And the unity is definitely missing, in my humble opinion. And I don't not normally share those on this platform, but you asked a question.
Well, I mean, I hear you, right? I mean, people change. It takes people to change a culture, but how do ordinary people turn voices heard into actual leverage? Like, all right, what do you think are the 3 most effective actions a Caymanian can take in the next, month or so that reliably moves a decision maker? Like, join what group, show up where, submit what?
You only need one.
If we don't name the pathways, speak up can feel like shouting into the wind.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Find your voice and well, I guess it's a combination, and mean it. Because many times words are spoken and it has no oomph behind it. And I feel we're looking so much for validation as a single person, unlike Danny, unlike Mr. Samamba, unlike yourself, even how you speak, that you got to mean it and you got to do things. Danny, for example, and I'm going to keep calling his name because he's a prime example of where you're going, and how I'm responding. No matter how grim it looks on whatever subject, whatever topic, Denny continues to stand for what he has researched, for what he's believed, and for the facts. And even though sometimes he may be scuffed or ignored or tried to even be shut down, the man remains standing. This is a fact. Like so many more, but we're few in numbers, or so it appears.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Many are subdued or are unable to speak as freely as they would want, because we know they're either civil servants or the organization to which they're working for have parameters around them that actually limits their ability to speak, which brings into another question of why then, or where, or are those signs of removing you from your freedom of speech? You see what I'm saying?
We were just talking about that last
Exactly,
week,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there are a number of factors I feel that is that inhibits persons from really wanting to speak their mind, whether and respectfully to weigh in on thought-provoking conversations and topics that could evoke change, that could change the trajectory of policymakers and are elected, but they're either fearful or they know the odds would be stacked against them even if they do.
They have to have a broad back. That's what you mean by mean it.
Yeah, or yes, or be willing to be alone in the corner. And sometimes that isn't bad. That isn't bad. That's power.
And something the Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Mottley said some time ago. She said, values only mean something when you stand by them when they're not convenient to hold them. So I mean, sometimes you just have to accept the licks that are thrown your way.
Yeah. And
But
sometimes
you see this broad back.
thick skin. I told people that after the 2021 elections, and we all know how that has, from the start to the finish, I've literally had to grow the skin of a dinosaur. You can't be thin-skinned in certain positions. And I think right now we all, once you stand for something, need to be able to grow that type of skin, because there will always be others that see things from a different perspective. And what it appears now is that all over the world, social status, political alignment, and the depth of your pockets almost gives you placement in society. Is that true or not? Or is it a perception? Because at the end of the day, we have proven there's strength in numbers and there's power in unity with one voice.
All right. Well, I don't want to hog the line. So.
I hope I was able to at least get it going, or to give you an idea where I'm going with that, or that I've answered your queries.
I'm sure they're always. Stay radiant, Sabrina.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Take care.
Take care.
Sure. Thank you so much, caller. He was our testy. Thank you for stepping up to the challenge. Yeah. Thank you so much for proving that, the phone lines are working. So Mr. Balika and Danny, we're back in session. Yes, Connie Bonnie, you're back. Good to have you here, my love. B Money Inc. says, I'm in Chicago and oh my God, the real feel of -8. I wish I was in Cayman. Even with the rain, yes, I could take this over that. I was in Chicago. I think it was April, and it was warm there. And OMG, I nearly had on every piece of clothing that I had. Layers was to a different thing. And I love the cold weather, for the record. I love this type of weather. But you can keep the -8. Good to have you with us anyhow. Yes. You are come from a land down under. Nice to have you, Australia, in the house. Yes. Where beers does flow and man chunder. Tell me what that is. Can't you hear? You can't hear the thunder. You bet there, whatever this is. And if I'm thinking that's one of those little people who really have nothing to do, my apologies if I'm misreading you. Damian Henry, yes. Thank you so much for confirming. Yes, Keith, or it's always good. Hey, Michelle, how you doing? Happy New Year. Good evening to you, Annie Banny. Keith says, do you know how to make cornbread? Oh, yeah. Keith, I've done it. And that was a big thing. The cake one, not the bread. I know what you're asking for. There's a difference in the variance. It's the denseness in it. Yeah. I made I would almost say a hybrid of that during Christmas. Oof. The family almost ate the pan. Denver says, I'm not biased. Send your samples via your auntie. Okay, Georgette. Don't think now else me. Both of them, they're actually getting their pieces a little later if they make it through all of this rain. But my cousin's coming over, and yeah, that's one good thing. The family eats. We eat. Yes. Orchids, no. Connie, you fast. Oh my God. That's a piece, Lily. Not the orchids. I don't have any luck with orchids, Cotty Body, but it's good. You kind of picked it up in the background. I'm no photographer either. I just needed the proper lighting to show you the consistency of how that cake came out, because I only gave it to you after it was, I only took a picture of when it was freshly icened, and I didn't want to cut it until it was somewhat cool. And I said, you know what? Let me prove that this thing really came out nice and it's moist. And yeah, but you noticed the vase. Shout out to my friends over there down at Vigoro. Yep, there we go. Always taking good care of me. Nikki, you want some tuna? Yes, thank you so much, Denver, for your feedback. Yes, it's definitely the way to go. And that's what my weekend was like. I hope you, well, nevertheless, I hope that everyone had a good weekend with everything that was going on. I stayed indoors. I will be indoors now even longer because of the frogs. They come out. Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, I really hope that you had a good weekend and that you're going to have a productive work week as we continue to see our, weather just go. It's bipolar almost. I even saw images coming out of Rattan yesterday. My aunt shared that with me, with the lady there who shared that she was being flooded in that area. Yeah, so there we go. Oh, you got the grands over. Oh, who they gonna keep you busy, Annie? Yes. Sabrina, why do banks allow young people to borrow money for a brand new car and do not allow them to borrow money to buy land? That has been a big question all along, understanding that from the second you drive that car off the lot, it depreciates by what? I stand to be corrected, 5% or something like that. And at the end of the day, it looks as though it is harder to even qualify for a mortgage. I would have to get that from them, whether it's the risk being more, but you would think properties appreciate in value where cars depreciate. Interest rates, sometimes they make more money, sometimes on a car for a shorter period. Or when you look at the amount that you'd have to purchase, that you borrow for either property or developed or underdeveloped. I don't know. I would really love for someone to, whether it's a myth, a misconception of some sort, it would only be somebody from the industry. And if anybody's listening and they would like to weigh in on this, be it you comment 345-936-8255, send me a WhatsApp on this to clarify this myth. You don't have to identify what bank you work with, but just give us once, you can give us factual information why this is the perception. I would really like to know. I would really, really like to know. Thank you so much, Donnie. Yes, Lisa, good to have you. Good evening. And everyone else in beautiful, rainy. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Hey, Tisha, you got to share this with the technical difficulty of the phone though. Yep. But it's working now. It's working now, Tisha. It's working. Yes. Inspiring says, good evening. Hello. Lots of rain. Yeah, and I know. Just be careful on the roads. Yes. Darlene, good to have you with us. 20%. Oh, it's 20%. Thanks, Denver, for that. 5, then that would be good, eh? 20%. But I don't know. I would really love to get somebody from the bank to really just make that make sense. And I'm hoping that, that they could make some sense out of it to demystify that, or maybe they're to it. I don't know. So one commenter on WhatsApp says, it's much easier to qualify for a 40,000 vehicle loan than it is to qualify for a 150 land loan, let alone, I'm quite sure with some of the salaries that we're seeing now, $550,000, $450,000 mortgage. Well, based on the age, I would be thinking that the terms stretch it out longer, more interest for the banks to make, but it actually gives first-time homeowners and property owners a chance at actually being able to own a piece of their home. And then looking at the price points and the availability of even properties within the $400,000 range, $400,000, $500,000 range, which is a good start. unless it's a fixer upper or something like that. I stand to be corrected, not being in the real estate industry, but I'm quite sure there's not very much you can find on the market that would be like under 380, 400,000. I stand to be corrected. That wouldn't require some sort of fix up, or it's not a studio. And then you have to look at even the properties. You have to look at life insurance. You definitely need to look at property insurance. And then if it's a strata complex, then you got to look at your overall property insurance into that, utilities and upkeep. So it's not just how much you spend for your debt service ratio, which is another thing. And it's a lot. And then how much dependence you have and their age, your age as well. So I would really love to speak to somebody in the banking industry that would just come on and just speak about the industry, about mortgage, about trends, where it's going. I would really love that. But who I reached out to, there was one individual that I reached out to, they didn't get permission to even come on the show. And they were not going to speak about where they're working. They were just going to share and impart their experience in loans and mortgages, that sort of stuff. But they didn't give permission. Again, that's a bit unfair, right? But let's see. I won't give up on that as we embark on this new year. And thanks for your questions in regards to that. But it would only take somebody in that industry to answer and to prove whether or not it's a myth or not. Denver say the bank lends 90% of every dollar you deposit, and brand new cars are fully insured. There you go. Don it says, my orchid and desert roses are smiling. Yeah, even though the desert rose do not like water. Very interesting. Funny how they deal with the rain. Yeah. Darlene says they will do anything to block our locals from having ownership for land, homes, apartments, or anything that will be a benefit, and to have a better living in their own Cayman Islands. The thing is, sometimes we're not as factual as we should be, even on filling out the forms. And we have to prepare for fluctuation in interest rates unless you get a fixed rate. And fixed rates are never always for the full duration of your mortgage. So there are a number of factors, but again, I don't want to weigh too much into it because I'm not an expert, but it really feels that way, to be honest, that it's easier to buy a vehicle or a boat sometimes, or a watercraft of some other sort, or something that can't provide you shelter. And the hoops and hurdles that you go through and all the fees and all that sort of stuff almost appears unreachable from the banking perspective versus being a customer. I really wish that somebody could actually dispel that for us. Yes, Damian Henry says, young people can typically secure a car loan more easier than property loans due to lower financial risk for the lender, smaller loan amounts, and less stringent and faster approval process. Yeah. And then you got some of the car dealerships that are actually connected to some of the financial institutions that pretty much once you're being financed by that, once you're purchasing a vehicle and you're dealing with the bank that they're partnering with, the process is even smoother. So there are a number of variances. You really wish you could see that a little bit more at a reach point for properties. It will be interesting. Yes. Steve eats alone. I hope that's not forever. What can I do? What can I do about private equity firms buying all the single? That Steve eats alone is going to give you some company now. That is something that is sparking, or there are talks about that happening nationally. And whether or not, for example, land banking, which I think when we say land in the broader terms, that could mean developed real estate as well. Just there, purchased and stockpiling. And that is something that has reached the ears or have been spoken about by leaders. Now let's see what will be done by it. And it is actually putting a strain on the stock that is here that could possibly be available for persons of different purchasing ranges as well. That is not fair to locals, especially. So let's see where this evolves. This government is still 1 year, pretty much as of April, into their reign. Let's hope that this is something that they actually look forward to possibly engaging with the public even more, getting public feedback and valuing their feedback and taking some of their suggestions as well. So we can only hope that that is one of the things that is probably on their priorities list with everything happening geopolitically and everything with border security. We're seeing where that going, and national security on a general. Here we go. This is another thing that is key, because the people of the Cayman Islands have been asking for easier pathways to home ownership. So let's hope that is also one of the things that is on the top of the list. Darlene McKenzie says, the budget homes supposed to be for the lower income locals. It seems it's for those that came here, got Cayman status and all the other rights. I don't think that the budget homes, I know what you're talking about, Darlene, but once you're Caymanians, I didn't think that they were actually, there wasn't a requirement for you to only be Caymanians to own those homes. And if that is going down to another direction that makes homes more accessible to Caymanians, I think possibly you may be looking at a private-public partnership to ensure that that is the case. But then you would have to look at the human rights side of that. I know some of you could say, oh, shut up about human rights, because we Caymanians have been left behind for far too long. We're not worried about that. We want to know that my son, my daughter, when they come out from college, they can get a job and they're able to afford property. But this is where you look at it 100%. And you look at the pros, you look at the cons, you look at the legal things around it. And it's time now we stand up for our own, because we Caymanians need to own a piece of our own place. So yes, you could be right here, because we're seeing some of those. And a lot of those, Darlene, were used to qualify for permanent residence. And that is why that ate it up as well. So that proves to the point that, yes, they were built, but not only for Caymanians. It was actually a staging ground as meeting the investment requirement in many cases for those who were applying for PR. So if you're saying now that that shouldn't be the case and they should be actually now a different tier, I don't know. It's a wider conversation that I would love to have with the experts. There you have it. But thank you for your feedback. The lines are open and the lines are working. 345-936-8255 is the number to call. Now, for all of you sport fans in here, tonight, I don't know if you've heard, I really don't chase football, but I'm definitely getting into the spirit. And I didn't even know who was playing until earlier on, but I was feeling the excitement because I was watching the Florida news. You know, right there tonight in Miami is the center of the college football universe. Yes, the college football playoffs and their national championships kicks off at the Hard Rock Stadium. And it is a match, they say, for the ages. Number one, Indiana Hoosiers versus the 10 Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, that's going to kick off this evening. And I know the momentum has been building. Oh my gosh. And can you imagine what it's like? I understand that the tickets are through the roof. And right now you can't get tickets if you wanted to, even if you were in Miami. But for those of you who are in college football, tonight is the night. It kicks off tonight. And this could actually be a historic event if Miami wins this thing. But kudos to all of you who follow that up. I really don't. But to tell you the truth, I don't mind just actually sitting and watching at the very end where it's nail biting. But I couldn't tell you. I know when they have to touch down and all that sort of stuff. But apart from that, Nope. So tonight, all eyes will be in Miami and Indiana chasing history. Because yes, Miami's chasing redemption. The kickoff is at 7:30 this evening, so I'm quite sure you'd be able to watch it on all of your sports channels. There we go. Just a little chuckle. As I was preparing for today, I keep out of the U.S. domestic politics, but some things you just can't make pass. Have you all heard now? This is just pretty much coming out that the president of the United States is still pretty salty about missing out on a Nobel Peace Prize. So what's the plan? I mean, I chuckled. That's one of the main reasons he's going after Greenland. Because I guess if you can't win a peace prize, you might as well try to win a piece of land. Some say it's about strategy, or others say maybe it is real resources, but I think he wants something maybe shiny to hang on those walls. And maybe in the back of his mind, which who knows, forget the Nobel medal. He's aiming at a giant map of Greenland with possibly a red circle around it. Are you kidding me? Guys, this is really all because he didn't get a prize? Well, there you have it. I guess some leaders chase medals and others chase history. And this one looks to me he's chasing glaciers and possibly the best real estate acquisition, possibly by a sitting president. Never cease to amaze me with what's happening over there. What are your thoughts? Enough about that. Let's take it right back here to home. You have asked for more positive stuff coming out here in the Cayman Islands. And today I really want to try my best to take a break a little bit out of the heavy stuff of the headlines and those stories that lifts us. And let's look at your Caribbean good news roundup, please. This will only take a minute because there is good stuff that's happening out there. And I think that it's really just getting shadowed by all of the stuff that's happening. And it's almost like you need to declutter. Yes. Darlene, I'm coming to you. You have noticed now, as I said, the government has officially pushed back on the compliance deadlines for these e-bikes and scooters to March 1st. Now, what this means is that riders have more time to register and meet the safety requirements while still enjoying affordable, eco-friendly transport. Doesn't work for like a day like today. Oh my God, unless you're fully covered in a raincoat and all your rain gear. But yeah, it is really, though, a win for sustainability and for everyday commuters. So I would really like to hear from you, though, now that we know for sure the phone lines are open. Do you see these e-bikes as Cayman's future solution for traffic or fuel cost, or do you worry about safety still, despite them being treated like cars? But I'd like to welcome you to comment on this. What's your thought on that? Call in and share your thoughts on that. I would really like to get your feedback on that, because this has now been extended to March for them to become compliant. But does it really solve the problem? Even if, because without proper enforcements, we could be in for a bumpy ride still. Also, we're getting some more news out of here, and I can see it even by looking along our roads here. Straight across the Caribbean, tourism is booming. Yes. Even from Jamaica to Barbados, they're reporting record winter arrivals. And I've said this, and I'm going to keep a look at it, but we're seeing numbers. All the hotels are reporting high occupancies, and hotels, winter arrivals from filling of hotels are boosting locals' economies. We're seeing that. And this is after years of uncertainty. This surge now is bringing jobs, energy, and optimism back to certain communities and definitely to certain destinations. So that is one of the good news topics as well. And I'm quite sure, based on what I'm hearing from our local hoteliers, that their occupancies are very high, and we are feeling it as well when we're driving and commuting along the West Bay corridor. And I do have persons and friends who work in the rent-a-car industry, and definitely we have seen an increase. Now, what we're also seeing is a good news topic as well. Meanwhile, Jamaica and Barbados, guess what? They're expanding solar and wind projects. And that is cutting dependence on fossil fuels by lowering household energy costs. And what this is saying, because this is from around the regions, it's proof that the Caribbean is stepping boldly into a cleaner, greener future. Now, what do you think about that for us here as an alternate means of our dependency on fossil fuels? What's your take on that? It'll be good to have a national discussion on that. And finally, yes, joy is in the air. I was watching TV over the weekend, and I must say, I went on YouTube and I was dancing up a storm, me alone. Trinidad and Tobago Carnival preparations definitely are on the way. And oh my gosh, once you stream on YouTube and you click on live, it's amazing what you find from in the region. And a lot of these concerts are actually streaming live. And after, the pandemic and disruptions, here we are seeing right now in Trinidad, they're definitely gearing up. And the return of their iconic celebrations promises again this year to be vibrant and economic, uplifting the pure Caribbean spirit. Now, we know what it's like for us in Cayman. A lot of Caymanians go to Trinidad and the various Barbados, different carnivals, even Jamaica. And we then prepare for ours. So there you have it. You asked for some good news roundup, and I brought it to you from e-bikes progress to Cayman, which we will go back to that because that's strength in numbers. That's strength in people speaking up, businesses speaking out to our leaders, or is it something bigger? We'll get into that, but I want to hear back from you as well. We also seen celebrations as well, and these stories tell us and remind us how exactly what Denver said, unity and resilience are alive across our islands. So I want you to stay tuned with me so we can delve a little bit more into that segues exactly into what we're saying. And again, this is not it doesn't give, I have more context when you participate, and I appreciate you actually tuning in with me and giving me your feedback. Yes, yes, yes. Miss Darlene, all you have to do is to go and marry a foreigner and see how quick you can get an ownership to anything. Maybe a private jet, a yacht, or a cruise ship. Our leaders lost, continue to lose it for our locals. Darlene, I think we need to speak more. They listened to the e-bikes, or was there something else afoot? Maybe I'll stick it right there until we get back. You be the judge of that, that caused this to be pushed back until the 1st of March. But it'll be interesting. But well said. Let's see as we continue. Maybe they will listen more, Darlene. But we all have to reach out to our MPs no matter what and keep the lines of communication open at all times. Annie, yes, I too would like to know what the problem was with the phones. I don't know. I'm not the only one that was having problems though, but this one for here. Remember I told you I shut down the entire system, and it looks as though what had happened was it had blocked the audio that was normally being picked up from the board and had set it back to the default because the camera also has audio features on it, but I removed those. And it looks as though what the system did, it was picking up one thing from the phone and another thing from the mic. So when people call, the phone was connected to the camera, which is why people were saying their hearing muffled, because that mic was not powerful enough to hear what was being said when it was disconnected from the board. So I knew something was going on, but I never thought that it would have automatically set a system. Yeah, I know we're getting complaints, but for this one, I'm telling you as well what happened here, because I was thinking it was a network. In this case, it wasn't. But people are complaining about phones. My son is complaining, and he's with Logic. He's been complaining about not being able to get calls, and so we're getting complaints as well from Flow. So I don't know if it is all of these repairs and trying to modernize our system that is causing the problems. I don't know. We just wish we could get a proper response for our telecoms or even from off-reg. Do we make reports from these things when you're inconvenienced? Because if you don't pay your bill, you get disconnected. What happens when you're getting crappy service? And this is where Consumer Protection Act and that sort of stuff will come into play. So it's interesting where we're going to head from that. I don't know what's happening, my love. I've had to reboot my phones over and over the weekend. And even sometimes your phone is right there and I'm getting told I'm calling you and the phone didn't ring. And you will go in and it's a missed call. And again, it's not that your phone's on mute. It's not like it's on silent or vibrate. Everything is on, but you're not there. It's like they're not coming through. So I don't know. Yes, yes, yes. So here we go. Today, please let me share this moment with you just in case you didn't hear, because it ties back to Cayman. Let's pause to honor the life of Stephen Cat Corey. There we go. Please allow me, a true giant of reggae and co-founder of Third World. You guys may remember this gentleman. He passed away yesterday at 69 and leaves a void in the music world. But his legacy of unity and resilience and joy will definitely live on. Now, we will remember him, Cayman will remember him fondly from his last performance here. That was in February of 2024 at the Agriculture Show. That was a night filled of rhythm, love, connection, and as we celebrate his life, let's carry forward the message of music to bridge that unity. You know, his legacy in music, oh my gosh, goes back so far. And I remember that night like it was yesterday, because Corey helped pioneer reggae and the fusion of blending reggae with soul, funk, pop, rock, and even classical influence. And there's a guy on that Third World, oh my God, he sung like a canary when it came to Andres Bocelli, and he was huge. So, my heart goes out to the family. May his soul rest in peace. He's had a global impact of 50 years, and we know that Third World carried Jamaican music across borders. And I can remember his tunes from like, Now That We Found Love, what are we going to do? You know what that did? That breakthrough international hits originally by the OJs. And what Third World did, they reimagined the reggae style. They rejigged it. They rejigged that entire style. And 96 degrees in the shade too. Even that. Here, I even found a picture of when they were here. Look at there. That was after the show. I was treated behind stage. That's Eric and two of them there from Third World. Hold on, I'm getting a note here. Horizontal. I don't know. Your program on YouTube shouldn't be horizontal in orientation. It's vertical. It's vertical. It's vertical. So I don't know. I'm seeing it here vertical on my screen. So I'm not so sure what's going on. I'm just getting some messages for all of you on YouTube. Are you guys still seeing me on YouTube? Yeah. Okay, Facebook. Yes, on YouTube, it is vertical. That's how the settings are. On YouTube, it's vertical, and that is for those persons who are streaming from a device like a phone. That's something that we started using a few weeks ago, both Sandra and myself. It is an option. I'm just answering someone live. So no, there's nothing wrong. It is how it is on Facebook. It is horizontal. On YouTube, it's vertical. Yes. So there you have it. So yes, that's what I have been up to. And that's our moment there for the family and the whole crew there of Kat, who's no longer with us, Stephen Corey, who's no longer with us. And we want to send all of our well wishes here from us here in the Cayman Islands. There you have it. 345-936-8255 is the number to call. What is Denver saying? I had the same problem, bought various new phones because my mother would call me and could not get through. No more problems now. I had the same problem with my 5-year-old phone. My mother kept complaining she couldn't get a hold of me. I bought a new phone and oh, really? Not so sure how old Annie's phone is, but I hope that's not the case. Sometimes just shutting down your phone completely, leaving it for a couple seconds, a minute or two sometimes. And then, that will do the trick. So there we go. Thank you, Live Happy and 4J. 2 options are here on YouTube. Yes. So for those who are streaming, this is a new feature. We're giving you both features, but from what I'm hearing is that you do have an option to view it horizontal on your end, but we have selected vertical, so it's easier. But you do have, from what I'm understanding from YouTube users, you can change it on your end, whether or not you want to see it horizontal or vertical. There we go. Hope that helps. I'm not the technical person behind. Oh, no. There we go. Let's look a little into, and again, the phone lines are open. They are working. 345-936-8255 is the number to call. Sources are telling me, and there are rumblings around in regards to that it's sparking a debate in regards to police chases on our roads. I'm hearing some rumblings. I don't have the finer details, but we know that there have been allegations where there are times that they're actually having to chase someone. We've all seen or heard, of high-speed pursuits that end up sometimes in accidents, sometimes even fatalities. But really, do we all know what Cayman's law actually say about these pursuits? Have you all actually checked into them? And are they legal? Are some of the questions based on the commentary and some sound bites that sounds of conversations that I've been hearing, and even how they're regulated. Now, I looked into a little bit of it. And again, many of you out there are learned and you can actually join in on this and we can check it. But I'd like to get your feedback on this because we are hearing this at the end of the day. Under the Police Act of 2017, I'm getting some more insight. Yeah, there we go. Vertical options, always with horizontal. Okay, so it's a choice of whoever's watching. Thank you for that. Under the Police Act of 2017 revision, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service legally has the authority to stop vehicles, pursue suspects fleeing from lawful arrest, and to use reasonable force within necessary to prevent crime or even to protect life. Okay? So the answer to that question is yes. A chase, pursuits are actually legal. But the act also requires that officers must act in due regard to public safety. Now, we all know the Cayman Islands have some of the best, if not the best roads, pretty much in our region, right? We can't disagree with that. That means that every chase must be justified, proportionate, and not reckless. Okay? Understanding our infrastructure, if not the best, some of the bests in the region. Okay? The Commissioner of Police issues operational policies to guide officers on when to continue or abandon a pursuit. That's what the act actually says. So what's your take? Do you think Cayman should have stricter limits? Because it's not like we see these every day, like what we would see in Chicago, those, in the US. But do you think Cayman should have stricter limits on pursuits? Or do you just trust officers to make the right call? What's your take on that? The phone lines are open. I would love to get your feedback on that. Okay? When you look at the risks, because we may not have soft shoulders on all of our roads. We have a bike lane on certain roads. The newer roads are definitely putting in infrastructure that would accommodate cyclists. But when you look at it, we don't have much of the soft shoulders at all. Even though we're not mountainous in terrain, that you have gullies and precipice, that sort of stuff. Really and truly, there's really not, on certain areas, there is not really a lot of soft shoulders at all. But when it comes to high speed pursuits, can quickly escalate into motor vehicle accidents. And we can see innocent drivers and pedestrians and bystanders even are often the ones most at risk. Let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome. How are you? Happy Monday.
Hi, not bad. How are you doing?
Good. You were having problems seeing me?
No, not really.
Mm,
It's the orientation of your
the camera, I guess.
of the vertical.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you move, half of your face goes out of the picture, which
I don't really like it, to be
it-
honest.
yeah.
Yeah, but thank
Um,
you. I need two cameras, actually. What I need, one for the vertical and one for the horizontal.
but you still have to have it positioned properly for that, and then you
Yeah.
have to constrain yourself to the vertical. if
What a
that's
mess.
you-
Oh, God. I'll be stiff as a piece of 2x4 then. Let me try my best.
that,
Go ahead. What's on your
that,
mind?
that's it. Um, this e-bike thing, right?
Yeah.
I get the impression that what they're going to do is just basically give more people more time to comply with what they have already said. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's what's been released. But at the end of the day, remember, you would think when these laws are put into place, caller, that they would have had public discussion with stakeholders, right? Why is it there was only one insurance company that was insuring, and then the premium was just through the roof? I think only now recently a second one has come on board. And then I had some sources that says the government system wasn't ready for all of these DMV fees for Caymanians, non-Caymanians, the distinction. So
Well,
really, is it just to become compliant, or the operational arm with coding and systems just did not move fast enough for the successful implementation? It could be a mixture of both.
yeah, it could be, but if all they're going to do is just postpone it so that people can do it without actually having a plan, that would be very disappointing.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is that you can get those bikes that do different speeds, right?
Yeah.
Some of them can't do any more than 15 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the regulations were the way they were, where it didn't catch those that were under 15 miles an hour, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, think about that for a second, right? If all they're going to do is postpone it until a later date when you have to comply with what they've already said, that just means they're kicking the can down the road. And again, I raised my point that I raised to Dixon when he was on CMR, and I asked, can a bike now licensed ride in the middle of the lane just like any other vehicle? They have a right to do that.
If they're saying they're being judged like a motor vehicle, like a car, under the same
Right. Well,
laws.
yeah, exactly. That's what he's saying. And so his reply to me was that that's a matter of enforcement. But that's not actually correct. You see, it's a matter of policy.
Mm-hmm.
What does the legislation say? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so because enforcement isn't just something that's disconnected from policy, you're enforcing policy. And so he then followed up by saying that he was referring me to the road code.
Mm-hmm.
So then I followed up by saying, well, okay, the road code allows me to do up to 50 miles an hour in a 50-mile zone. But remember, my bike could only do 20 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if I have the right to be in the lane, I can do 20 miles an hour in the middle of the lane in a 50-mile zone. Now, I can tell you right now that that's very dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to wait to try to figure out and, well, see what we can come up with. No, I know that's dumb. Anybody on this side of hell knows that's dumb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have 6 miles of traffic, people are going to be irritated like you can't even imagine. And if anyone can't see why that would be the case, maybe you shouldn't be on the road.
Right out on Spot Street or on Seaview Drive
Right.
on the way going up to Glowhold.
So what I advocated on my second call to CMR was that they take this time and come up with a proper policy on how they're going to separate the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And what I advocated was, I said, listen, those bikes shouldn't be riding sidewalk. Okay, so the regulations should have a provision that prevents them from being on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is that from an engineering perspective, you don't have someone walking 3 or 4 miles an hour and e-bikes doing 15 miles an hour in the same lane.
Correct.
That doesn't, you have to separate that type of traffic. So how would you separate it? You would say that pedestrians can walk on the sidewalk, e-bikes can't ride on the sidewalk, but they would ride on the side of the lane, just like how bicycles would ride on the side of the lane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's their speed, right? Now, I'm getting the impression that they're not taking that advice. They're just going to ignore that, and it's going to be, they'll figure it out somehow when the people's anger is out of control.
Do you feel this was another piece of rush implementation without proper dialogue and just?
You know, I would be tempted to think that perhaps somebody overlooked something,
Mm-hmm.
but because this type of stuff happens so often,
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to wonder even worse now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this is not good governance, and the person responsible for good governance is the governor, and so she should. This is going to create dangers for people where people could get seriously hurt. When people get upset, frustrated with what's going on the road, I'm not saying that they have a right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just acknowledging that these are the types of things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And before that happens, because we can foresee it, it would be negligent of the commissioner of police, negligent of the governor, negligent of Dixon to suggest that this should move forward without being properly considered in a comprehensive way. Because people could get seriously hurt, including killed.
So there's one element of people, them consulting businesses, citizens, and just looking at it from a common sense perspective, which from what you're somewhat describing and being polite, there wasn't much common sense to it. Or
right.
You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So
right.
I heard there was a question from the first right now person that Sandra, Mr. Goulburn, who went ahead and got his vehicle, his e-bike, all compliant. But he's still waiting to find out what roads he will not be allowed to ride on, even though he's compliant.
That's foolishness.
You see what I'm saying?
That is absolutely, no, I can tell you what he can ride on. He can ride on the lane under the current regulation. Because unless the regulations prohibit him from in such a way, then he's allowed to ride in the lane like everybody else. You see, the law isn't what the police is thinking in their head. Okay? The law is what has been prescribed for people to do.
But isn't that why
And
you
unless
sit down with your policy advisors and your technocrats and you compare the existing law and you look at the variables and you put them side by side, and with your public consultation, you hash it out before it's then put into effect?
that's what professionals do, yes.
Sorry. I
Yes, that is what professionals do. But and I'll go a step further. The bikes that are less, that have a top speed of 15 miles an hour,
Mhm.
or perhaps even 20, should not be required to be insured, because they're essentially like a motorized bicycle. You can
Mhm.
pedal
Mhm.
as fast as those things can go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the reason why I say that is this. I imagine that there are some people in society who are just saying, I just want to get these bikes off of the road. And perhaps the government did this thinking, well, maybe nobody will insure them,
Mm.
and got a surprise. Okay. But let me think out loud about the downstream consequences of
Mhm.
these types of foolish decisions.
Mhm.
We don't implement policy in this way because it's unprofessional. It's not good governance. Here's the downstream consequences. It might sound great to say, oh, you got to be licensed and have insurance and all that kind of stuff. But do you understand which segment of society
That
that
is
you are placing these burdens on?
on.
These are people that don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
These are the people that when you walk into certain businesses, they're the ones who's making it possible for you to get what you need and then get on with your day.
Correct.
And you're seeking to increase their financial burden.
So what do you think are some
I,
of the hindrances as to why people didn't actually meet the deadline in getting these modes of transport compliant? Was it because of the astronomical fee, maybe, of the insurance?
I think it's multifaceted. I think some people, just didn't care.
Okay.
Some some
Catch me if you
people
can, almost.
yeah, some people didn't know, and some people simply can't afford it.
Yeah. Don't you think that's going to be the same thing with
and,
the licensing of vehicle and driver's license?
and so if you think of yourself as someone who's insignificant in society,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to think, well, if I raise this issue with the commissioner of police or with the governor, certainly they're going to understand my financial situation and accommodate me? Or do you think that person is going to say, well,
I'm
they're not
nobody
even
here.
going,
I don't
yeah,
sound like them. Who would they're
not
not
even
even,
going to listen?
yeah, they're not even going to listen to me. They're just going to impose it, or I'm setting a target on my back.
Yeah, yeah. And some people, you would be surprised to know the things that some people think would cause them to lose their work permit.
You see? Yes, yes. I've heard them.
And
I've heard.
yeah. And so what I'm trying to say here is that I think we could do better in how we implement things, and we should do better. And we should consider the situation that people find themselves in. And if the bikes are on the lower end of speed,
Mm-hmm.
then I think we should, if you're going to require insurance for
Yeah.
them, but you're not going to require it for bicycles, I would like to hear an explanation why you think that that's a justifiable position to take.
You see the speed some of those guys ride in the morning that they do the lap around Cayman. They get up 3 o'clock in the morning and they do
Yes,
it. You know how fast
yes,
some of them can go?
I know, I know, I know. And so I just believe that it's not right to be implementing things in this way. Just because you have the power to do
Do
something
so.
doesn't mean that you should. Right?
Well,
And
don't
I
you see
think,
something similar happening with the immigration reform? You think maybe if
yeah,
this could be a case because of how big that is, and again, Rumor
When you
has
say a
it,
case, what do you mean? What do you mean a case?
but in a case like what we're seeing now, don't you
Oh,
think maybe it could be the same thing that's probably could be afoot with the immigration reform? Because sources say that there are still amendments being had, Danny, and I know this rubbed you and I both the wrong way, because what I'm hearing is that there's no public consultation as amendments continue to actually unfold.
well, amendments that were not expressed at the committee stage
Correct.
in the House.
Correct. I stand to
That
be
would be
corrected, and only time will tell.
that would be unlawful.
I stand to be
No,
corrected,
no.
and time will tell.
I know, but the point I'm trying to make to you is that the government acting unlawful wouldn't actually
Who's
be a
going to point
surprise
it
to
out,
me.
though? Who's going to point it
No,
out?
I understand, but it is problematic because you can't have the people who are supposed to be enforcing the law breaking the law.
They wouldn't
That
see
doesn't-
that.
that doesn't-
That's minor. You wouldn't tell that little thing. No, no. We could
What-
get
what do
away
you
with
mean?
it. No, I'm just saying maybe it's so insignificant that they may think people may not pick up on it. I don't know. We have to see. Remember, we're still waiting to see the regulations.
Well, I know that's done all the time. And not forget about the immigration bill; it's done in other ways,
Mhm.
right? But I think that we need to be mindful of how we're impacting certain segments of workers in our society. It's all well and good for people to feel that somebody's taking your job or whatever, but as long as they have the work permit, I don't think you should be making their life impossible.
Maybe
Right?
that's a way of getting rid of people are saying just leave, but I don't feel that that is a humane way to do that either. Unintended
Well,
consequences.
I don't think the government would admit that that's what they're doing, but whether they intentionally are doing it or not, the fact of the matter is that it's a significant portion of our society
Mhm.
that don't make a whole lot of money. And you might think that $300 is not much, but to some people, that's a lot of money.
Oh my God, yes. Even $100. When the last time some people really said, okay, wow, here's $100. I know what it likes to feel like $100 in my hand. I mean, that
So
doesn't
the-
even
so
go
the-
the distance anymore.
So the e-bikes that could do the speed limit
Yeah.
should be able to ride in the lane with the rest of the traffic. And the ones that can't, that are on the lower end of speed, they should be treated like a bicycle and ride on the side of the lane instead of in the center of the lane.
Mhm.
But these are things that need to be put in regulation in prescribed in regulation, because you don't want it to be a policy.
Mhm.
It can't be a policy.
Right.
It would have to be in a regulation, because you're applying it to all of society, and an administrator doesn't have the authority to just apply something to society by decree,
Mhm.
right? It has to be cabinet making a regulation to do that.
But
You
Danny,
remember when the chief medical officer claimed to say that doctors couldn't write a prescription for certain narcotics
unless they
but
were seen by a physician, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's not lawful. That wasn't lawful. He could do that for the HSC because he's in charge of that.
Mhm. And
But he
cynical
can't do
patient.
that for private doctors, because the private, in order to bound private doctors in that way, cabinet would have had to have made that regulation in order to apply that to the private sector. That was unlawful.
But as a chief medical officer in a national position, for what he had seen where data was concerned, that the numbers wasn't adding up for the populace, something was going wrong. Something
That's
is
fine.
questionable.
No, it's fine if he sees an issue, but look at it this way. Let me give you an example. You remember that the chief medical officer gave advice to cabinet, and then cabinet made regulations about
Surrounding the advice.
in relation to the lockdown.
Yeah,
You remember that?
at that time. Yeah.
All of the different positions that was being changed and how they were being implemented by cabinet, making a regulation on the advice of
Of the
chief medical
CMO.
officer.
Yeah. Who was the technocrats? Who's supposed to be
Yeah.
informed to help guide and decision making?
Right. And in other words, he can give the advice, but he can't make the regulation. Only cabinet could make the regulation.
But in
And
a
cabinet
situation
had-
like the 2021 and the COVID lockdown, compared with what was going on around the world and what we were seeing, wouldn't you think, you still feel that that was a mistake?
No,
I'm asking a
saying
general
it's
question.
unlawful. No, I'm saying it's unlawful.
But how else
Because
at the
you see,
time
when-
dealing with something that was unknown and knowing that it was something that we had not been exposed to at that time, don't you feel that that was the best decision made in order to preserve life?
When it comes to locking down, the decision to lock down, all I'm saying about it, yeah, when you don't know what it is, sure, but what I want to be clear on, the chief medical officer can't declare that. He can give advice to cabinet that should be done, but until cabinet makes a regulation to bring that into
Gotcha.
effect,
I hear you now.
it's not lawful.
Gotcha.
So what I'm saying is that he
Because
can't
the
just write
COVID
about
regulations came almost in hindsight.
Well, yes, because yes,
There
you
were
see
no
what-
COVID regulations before the pandemic because it was never heard of.
right. But the point that I'm making is that when cabinet made the regulation,
Got you.
it made the recommendation of the chief medical officer lawful.
Got you.
And so in this case where he wrote a letter claiming that he had the authority to bind even private doctors not to prescribe
Without
certain
cabinet
narcotics.
recommendation, it would be deemed unlawful.
No, not recommendation, without cabinet making
Approval.
regulation. Right? Once they made regulations that would be the case, then that would become lawful. So I'm just saying that what we should be doing in relation to the e-bikes isn't just calling up the commissioner and hear what the commissioner has to say and then just act. Because those things that apply to the country on a whole, generally need to be made in regulations.
Got you.
That's my point.
Without
But they need
spaces
to-
like this in actually educating John public, how would the average citizen be able to identify this, even though I have Denver agreeing exactly what the CMO done was wrong? But until you shed some light on this, let's say it was only you one saying this on in spaces like this, you would be deemed as a troublemaker because other people wouldn't have known the process, how it works, what make things legal, what make things illegal. But then they're looking emotive, urgencies. And of course, you wouldn't expect your leaders to be telling you the wrong thing.
Well, I do expect my leaders to be telling me the wrong thing because I know how governments operate. So that's why I look out for the wrong thing. And that's why I can see the wrong thing because I'm looking for it. All right. Now, understand this. They could call me a troublemaker as much as they want. But you know whose opinion I share on this matter? Einstein. What Einstein said is he doesn't need to have everybody agree with him. He just needs one person, just one single person to prove that the formula that he had created was wrong. And he would change his position. And so the people who would be saying that I'm just a troublemaker, I suggest they need to inform themselves a little more. Because that's not how the world actually works.
Now, as we continue forums and hold discussions of this nature, how do you feel this would impact the way in which our leaders actually embark on, let's say, future legislative changes, introduction, because they know now that there are persons who are more informing themselves and engaging in discussions that is civic in nature and educational as well. Do you feel eventually you would see a shift in the way our leaders actually operate?
I think some of them. I think some of the people who are elected to the House are being paid to not understand because they're there to achieve a certain agenda. And no
Puppets, if
matter
puppets
how
were a
right
person?
you are, they're not going to agree with you ever. Now, I'm not suggesting that's the majority. I'm just saying that you have to keep in mind that not everyone who goes to the House is there for the right reasons. Okay?
Hmm.
And how do you know when someone is there for the right reasons? When you bring up sensible things to them and they could see that what you're saying makes sense, they're
Mhm.
willing to change their position because, they just overlook it or they didn't see it for whatever the reason might be. They go through a lot of information constantly. And to me, the way I would see it is I would appreciate it as help,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't see it as a threat. Now, I know that the way some politicians think about recommendations from the public is that if you make a recommendation and it makes more sense than what they recommended, they still don't want to do it because they don't want the public to think, well, if this person has better ideas, well, maybe we should elect that person.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's lots of reasons in why which politicians do things. I just hope that um, that we would, do things in the best interest of the Cayman society. And as we were talking about with the example with the e-bikes, I've specified my reasons. I didn't just say I think they're stupid.
Correct. You
I
said
said
why. You
specifically,
validated. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that's kind of discussion I think we should be having, because to me it's about solving the problems. Now, if somebody comes along with an even brighter idea than what I just talked about, I'll accept it because I'm interested in having us in a better future.
So where do we go from here? Understanding this has now been pushed back until March 1st, which is again in line with the
You
implementation of
sending an
immigration as well.
you sending an email to the commission of police and asking if this is just a delay in time, or are we going to sort out these types of
Of
issues,
issues.
um, and and make um, and make regulations about that. That's where we should go from
Because
there.
pretty
Because
much what I'm understanding in a quick pull from the hip and shoot, they just pretty much put those e-bikes that goes over 50 miles an hour and categorizes them almost like cars. So that the law
well,
then includes
it was
them. I stand to be
it
corrected.
was it was under 15 miles an hour.
Under 15 miles.
Yeah, because they had to be above 15 miles an hour to be excluded.
Okay.
So the ones that are under 50, when the regulation says above 15, that means they're not included in the regulation. So when they remove that provision about the 15 miles an hour, now that means everything from 1 mile an hour
Yeah.
is captured by the regulations.
Okay.
So they they this is think about this for a second. There's a guy that calls in sometimes on Sandra's show and inquires about his motorized. It's essentially like a wheel. It's not technically a wheelchair, but it's for disabled people,
People. Hmm.
and it does like, I don't know, 5 miles an hour, like really really slow, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
like walking.
Hmm.
Well, very on a very technical level, that's captured by these regulations too,
Holy smoke.
because you don't have this threshold that once you pass that, it's that you're regulating.
Hmm.
It's everything. And so, for example, for him to cross the street from one sidewalk to the other, he would be technically breaking
Breaking
the
the
law.
law.
So that has to be considered separately as well. In other words, the regulations would need to include provisions that say, you know, he can use that to
Mhm.
cross the road from one sidewalk to the next in order to get where he's going, in order for him to be
So
legal during that period of crossing the road.
what's your take when persons from the outside looking in hear discussions like this, have the privilege of maybe just by chance bumping into or crossing on YouTube some of the parliamentary exchanges and hear some of these things that is now going to go into place? What would you think the view they would have of the people of the Cayman Islands when they hear things like this, they hear discussions like this, someone looking in from the outside?
Well, I mean, the way I would look at it is if you're promoting yourself as a leading financial center, but you don't have things worked out for somebody to get on a little thing that can do 5 miles an hour and go down this sidewalk because you're disabled, you're pretty behind, right? I mean, are vulnerable in society,
Inclusion.
and society is measured by how you
You
treat
treat.
those that are vulnerable,
Mhm.
not measured by those who are driving the latest fancy car,
Mhm.
you know? So I think they would feel a way that those who are disabled are not treated properly by society.
Were you aware of any town hall meetings had on this, or I did I miss something? Any public discussion in all of this?
Before I go any further, no, I don't. Not that I'm aware of. I'm
Okay,
not saying it
that's
didn't
what I'm
happen.
asking. I maybe I may have missed something.
It's entirely possible that I missed it as well.
Okay.
But I'm just getting word that unfortunately Mr. Austin Harris has passed away.
Oh no.
Yeah. Um,
Oh no.
Sad.
My sincere condolences to his family. We know that I shared in the post as well as CMR platform, and I trust your sources, Danny. I just know you, so I'm going to take it that your sources, you understand. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. It's not the news we want to break. I shared in the post as well with the platelets drive that they were asking for yesterday. And we know that he's well known here in the Cayman Islands, a former elected MP, former member of parliament representing Prospect. That was in 13 to 2021. A voice to many in the radio world, just like this, hosting shows like this. And oh wow, such a young age.
Yeah.
No longer with us.
No, and I just had a conversation with someone today because I didn't really know exactly what was happening with him. I just heard that something had happened to him, and I was like, "Oh my Lord, I need to see if I can, see him."
Mm-hmm.
And
That would have been a risk.
now that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm quite sure as this continues to unfold from all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks family, we want to share our public condolences to the family and friends and loved ones of Mr. Harris, even though I won him in the 2021 elections. Austin raised up Elgin Avenue right across from my grandparents. My aunt and I were talking about him just yesterday as childhood, right there, him and Lloydo and his brother, Mr. Bossy. And they used to be in those, down by my grandmother's quite well,
yeah,
Danny, with all those chalamello trees. And my aunt,
yeah.
she brought back the image. Him and his brother used to be swinging from them like Tarzan back in the day. She said she could see them
Yeah.
sitting on the swing in the front of his parents' house with all their powdered up. Their aunt used to take care of them, and I'm like, wow. And look at that. I know them, and even though I worked with them close from 13 to 21 on the ground here in Prospect and Red Bay, contrary to the fact that we ran against each other, we go back to childhood, and it's
Yeah.
just amazing how connected we are. And at the end of the day, politics is something, and this is why when an island our size where everybody is so connected, we can't make politics and foolishness, certain topics just divide us because we're all connected some way, somehow. It's, oh, wow.
Yeah, I agree. But there's also a more important subject that we need to think about when we think about death, and that is, are we prepared to go?
Yeah.
And that is something that I think is an important thing to do before you find yourself in a difficult situation, because sometimes you don't get the opportunity to think about it. You just
Okay.
go on and instantaneously.
Well, I guess we'll keep it
So
close. I won't want to say too much more until, everything. Yeah, but thank you for sharing that with us, caller.
yeah, yeah, but that was my thoughts about the e-bike thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else, but now that this has come up, I forgot it.
I don't. It's almost hard to segue into something like that, but we'll wait for that until I guess something official has been shared from the family and loved ones. But what's your take? I noticed a headline in regards to the lawyers under a code of conduct. Have you seen that one?
No, what is that about?
That for the first time right now, Cayman attorneys will be required to follow a mandatory code of conduct under the Legal Service Act, which was coming into effect on the 1st of January.
Okay, and is
Pretty
that
much, this is like
is that code of
guidelines.
conduct?
Yeah, apparently there wasn't
No,
one, like a piece of act that covered the code of conduct for attorneys before.
but what they call a code of conduct, is that a regulation, or is that just something that is agreed to by them but not enforced by statute?
Well, apparently it is in accordance. This is what little did I got up under the Legal Service Act, which comes into full effect on the 1st of January, 2026. This means that lawyers aren't just guided by professional courtesy anymore. They're legally bounded to act with honesty, fairness, integrity. And, they had professional guidelines that weren't enforceable in the same way. But with these new rules in law, every attorney practicing in Cayman now must pretty much follow these standards of honesty, confidentiality, independence, and fairness. So it is new. It's just coming out, I guess, making its rounds. I'll have to dig into a little bit more, but there was a headline. CMR did actually cover it in a story, but I'll have to look into it a little bit more.
I wonder if the commissioner of police are going to be respecting lawyers' privacy now.
Oh, Jesus. I saw one comment, be careful the hand that bites you, or something with this code of conduct, because if it's asking for attorneys to conduct themselves in a certain manner, to always speak the truth. We all, how the thing is, lawyers are the best liars. I'm not an attorney, but you kind of look at it differently.
Well, to me, I what my understanding of a lawyer is, and let me give you an example that will help illustrate how I see it. Lawyers are not, contrary to what some people think, lawyers are not there to lie and get you off of a crime. Okay?
It's putting the best case forward to hopefully.
It's to make sure that you are treated fairly. Remember that section in section 19, the last one, what it says? Procedurally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Must be lawful, rational,
and proportionate,
and procedurally fair.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer is there to make sure that when you go through the courts, that your rights as the accused is respected every step of the way
Mhm.
and to give you advice in light of the circumstances that you're in. The lawyer's not there to lie to get you off. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that that never happens.
Right.
I'm just saying that's not what's supposed to happen, right? And so so some people would think of a certain type of crime in society, and they would think the only outcome for that
Mhm.
person is they should be immediately put to death. They shouldn't even have a court hearing.
Right.
It's so bad, right?
Right.
That's not how justice is supposed to work.
Hmm. Well, I guess these type of rules now kind of would cover or highlight conflicts of interest. Let's say, for example, which they have to declare, which is why sometimes some attorneys that you may want to represent, you can't because they're representing maybe another side in a dispute.
Well, before we go any further, sorry,
Yeah.
the person who shared this information with me was a lawyer, and they said, "Hold that. Sources is telling me that isn't true
Okay, so you're
regarding
clearing.
Oscar."
Okay, well, just keep it to yourself
That's,
right now.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you
what he
for clearing that up.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you for clearing that up. What we're saying then with these new laws, the code of conduct, mishandling, even I guess this would cover even mishandling even clients' funds, dishonesty in court, and possibly breach of confidentiality as well. So it will be interesting that these new sets of guidelines, rules that lawyers are now, I guess, explicitly clear of their do's and don'ts should actually make clients feel a little bit more protected.
Well, I think it's helpful, but you know what I would really like to see? I would like to see some proper rules about judges.
Oh, maybe it's a start. Maybe they
Because,
start with lawyers and then it'll go to judges.
well, um, I know of situations in which judges have given rulings that they can't possibly really and truly believe some of the things they said.
Mm-hmm.
And it bothers me. I mean, one of the cases is in relation to the section, I think it's section 29 of the Grand Court Act. And the judge basically said that the law that the that section of the law didn't say what it actually says.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
wow.
it's in plain English. Okay. Now you have to really be intellectually dishonest
Mm-hmm.
in order to look at something that is unambiguous
Mm-hmm.
and state, no, it doesn't say that. Unless we deal with those types of issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying to you that the lawyer thing isn't good. I'm saying that much more is needed. And let me tell you something else.
Then we actually caught you on something that you really weren't aware of. OMG. I bet you have
Yeah.
this locked down by
Well,
tomorrow.
I don't. I can't keep up with everything in real time.
Oh gosh. I know you're gonna go, you're digging because I gotta dig. I just thought, it was interesting to it just made its way out today.
Yeah. So the when you go to court, the rules says that the note of the judge is the official record of the hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do not believe that that is appropriate at all,
Mm-hmm.
because what that doesn't, if with that being the case, that doesn't take into consideration a judge who's doing things inappropriately.
Right.
In order to take that into consideration, you need a recording of the hearing so that you will have a verbatim record of what actually happened, not the interpretation of what the judge heard someone say and made a few quick notes about, because those few quick notes don't tell the whole story. Right? And so sometimes judge judges will mishear things as well.
Mm.
So what you actually need is a verbatim recording that is unbiased, and that will clear the record about exactly what was said in court.
Mm.
We don't have that at the moment. We should have it.
But
The courts should be doing it, but it's not always done.
I see a comment Mr. Belika made. They can have a code of conduct, but if the mechanisms for enforcement are not effective, it will do little. There is a judicial code of conduct, but it's not enforced effectively, which in this case then would be interesting. Who would be enforcing this code of conduct then?
If I remember correctly, I think it's the governor that's responsible for the
So
oversight of the Judicial Commission.
I got to read this law to make it make
governor.
sense. Yeah.
The Judicial Commission / governor
Okay.
is where I think that
So
lays.
someone would actually have to make a formal complaint, and then it'll have to be
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And so the Constitution requires that Judicial Commission make rules that would guide a person about how you go about making a complaint, right? And these rules have to be put in place in a way that it's not just somebody's opinion at the moment. It has to be something that is written, that's prescribed, and people can rely on that. That is what the rules are.
And you got to
Not
be
that
able
you
to
come back tomorrow and they change.
and you got to be able to identify it to know whether or not you're being disenfranchised somewhere, even, or that it's even breaking some sort of rule.
Exactly. That's why I said about what Mr. Dixon said about enforcement. He said it's about enforcement. I said, no, it's about policy. And the policy, what does the regulation say? And so we have to have those that we can rely on. That's why you have to publish it in a gazette. You're making an official statement that this is what the rules are. And if you don't do that, then how can you expect anyone to understand what the rules are?
Miss Lucille Denny says, Sabrina, I would like to take some lessons from Denny, as old as I am right now. He's on top. Love you all. Stay safe. Love. See, he even got your UK crew going.
Well, I appreciate the comments. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get off the phone in case Billy wants to call.
Well, we got 10 minutes, so he would have to do a feed on me, because we can go more into this tomorrow. But yes, by all means, I know he's been busting at the seams from Thursday, Wednesday that we were having the phone problems, but I figured that out. So let's see.
All right.
All right. Thank you, my love. All the best. Mr. Belika, I can give you 5 to 10 minutes. Yes. Hey, Miss Maria, welcome. First time watching. I hope you will be back. See, we're going to big you up. Yeah, we'll be looking for you as we move forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Mr. Belika says, yes, Danny is right. It is for the Judicial Commission and the governor ultimately. But it's amazing that you be able to, thanks for that update, Dan. You got to be able to identify some of these things before in order to actually be able. How are you going to identify something as being wrong if you don't even know? Which is why public discourse, discussions, ventilating certain things, feedback from Mr. Belika, who is a learned person, been working in the legal field, has been dealing with laws here in the Cayman Islands. It's good to have their weighing in on this. So I thank them for their contribution as we look more into this code of conduct, this mandatory code of conduct under the Legal Service Act here in the Cayman Islands, and what it means for us, and definitely for those who are in the industry. Beautiful Isles, ugly truth. I feel the government should let them ride at their own risk, suffer the consequences, charge them a license fee, phase them out, implement a ban on further imports and parts for repairs. Oh God, ride at their own risk. I tell you the truth, it is risky even in a darn car. Denver says, I wish our elected members of parliament would take some advice from Danny. Let's see. Interesting, Denver. I'm quite sure they listen, though, Good evening, Mr. Balika. How are you? You got 5 minutes, because we can come back to this topic.
Good evening, Sabrina. I have to speak like one of those chipmunks to get everything that I
No,
have
man.
to.
You leave us with a cliffhanger and we can come back tomorrow. But I know you've been busting at the seams since Wednesday, but we've gotten the phone line sorted out. How are you?
Fine, thank you, and then good evening to your listeners as well. Well, first of all, Danny shouldn't have got enough for me, because sometimes, you see, apart from the fact that he doesn't speak about things unless he knows them.
Exactly.
Okay, but also the apart from his depth of knowledge of general things, and today he discussed everything from e-bikes, the details of e-bikes, the law and the complaints, and you name it. You know, it's just, I think he's just so diligent in the things that, you know, are important to the community. If I can, I think you should have given him 3 times the time he normally gets, because I mean, he's in arrears too, you know.
Yeah, but let me tell you, between you, Danny, Siobhan has been a little while. You guys are behind.
Yeah.
And like I said, you miss one day and it's all mayhem. So let's see what we can do with trying to play catch up, because I know we were talking about workplace bullying and you had a lot to say about that. But we just weren't hearing you.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I had a lot to say about workplace bullying. I doubt that we'll get to that. But since you just got off the topic about the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, this is something, you know, that a lot of people don't realize just how it affects everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they have now come out with this thing. They're saying, well, the Legal Services Act is now fully implemented. And there will now be a mandatory code, and these are the fines which are going to be enforced and all that. Okay, that is fine. But first of all, to begin with, whenever you are called to the bar, you have to go through certain trainings regarding what your ethics are. So it is not as if there are no ethics and suddenly now we are going to have ethics. No, there are certain ethics you have to pass in order for you to be able to practice the issues relating to conflict of interest. If you are dealing with mortgages, can you act for the person who is giving the mortgage, and also get a percentage if that person, like there are certain issues of conflict of interest which arise in all these things. So in the first place, they already exist, except that every jurisdiction normally has its own laid down code, which will be sometimes litigated. There will be some case law which will like sort of interpret it. But the point really I want to make, which I can make in the short time that we have, is that you can have all these things, but if you do not have an effective structure and mechanism for enforcing them, I won't say it's a waste of time. Like I said in the note, it will do very little. Previously, for example, before this new system comes into effect, there was the Legal Practitioners Act. What was it called? I think it was called Legal Practitioners Act. The new one is called Legal Services.
Right.
Under the Legal Practitioners Act, you could complain to the Chief Justice. Okay. But there was no proper system, like, and I think Colin McKee mentioned that at the opening of the court. He said, well, look, but there was no proper mechanism where you could go to a hearing, there's sifting of complaints. It's not there. So people were always getting away with things, to a point where one time Chris Saunders went to the Legislative Assembly and said, look, where do people go to be able to get relief if the lawyers have, you know, screwed them or anything like that?
Yeah.
So what I really want to emphasize is that it's all very well to have these structures, but if you can't implement them, there's very little that you can do. Let me touch on the point which Danny, I know we're on 656, which he mentioned regarding a judge just refusing to read a provision. I have a case where a judge, I won't call his name, although his name is not the website, it's public, but let me just avoid calling his name. Basically, this judge is a liar. He denied me a hearing for 2 days, which he had set himself. He said, I'll give you 2 days to argue this case. And then later on, he denied me the hearing. Then he said, well, the reason he denied me was, because I asked for the remote hearing too late. He was lying. And I have 1,001 emails back and forth showing that he was lying. And I went to the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. They didn't discipline him. I went to the Grand Court, to the Court of Appeal. I even applied for leave to appeal with the Privy Council. And the Privy Council said, you have no arguable point of law.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So if I have 13 emails to show that the judge was lying and you can't find him guilty of anything, how about those other cases where there's no hard evidence? So those are the issues really that have to be dealt with. We will get into some detail. I really hope that we can have another time to get into those details, because this is the right time to discuss this for people to understand what the limitations are. I can also tell you as I sign off, I can tell you about other people, not just me.
You can go on for about you can go on for at least 5 to 10 minutes. I'm looking at the schedule and there's not another schedule one until we got to end. Sorry. Yeah.
Go
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, very well. Yeah, but anyway, but it will be good to get a chance to get into this and ensure that you see people understand about the limitations of even what they are trying to do. We can.
I'd be more than happy to take this back up tomorrow so that we can delve into this. This gives me some more time as well.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you. Likewise.
Bye.
Family, this brings me to the end of today's episode of Sabrina Speaks. Make We Talk is coming up next. We're at 7:00, and I want to thank each of you for riding along with me, for calling in, for participating as you normally do, be it on YouTube, Facebook, or even calling in, being brave and speaking out. You are valued, you are appreciated, and without you, this space would not be the same. So as we head into the rest of our evening, carrying that reminder with you that even on gray days, we can bring light by staying engaged, staying informed, and definitely taking away some thoughtful insights on how we evolve here. Until next time, it has been my pleasure bringing you this episode, another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for being a part of this family. Please, please, please stay safe, stay dry, keep speaking up. Love you lots. And until tomorrow, stay safe, God bless, and have a wonderful evening.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.